How are you doing, Cam?
Jeff, how are you? Nice to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you too, man.
Where are you in the world?
Burlington, Ontario.
Burlington, Ontario. For all my fans, I have a huge fan base in Singapore. Where's that?
Close to Toronto.
Not
Suburb
too
of
far from
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
And recess for young kids, 11 and 13-year-old boys. What do you do for recess with them?
We send them outside to play in the traffic.
With like a big chain?
No, we actually have them we call it Jackson University, and they start at 9:15 and go to 3:45, and they have lunch break and a couple of recess breaks. They go outside and play basketball or hockey or whatever they want, burn off a little energy, and then get back in and finish their schoolwork.
Question, what was it like to play against 99 Wayne Gretzky in his prime?
It was scary because they had Wayne Gretzky, who was Wayne Gretzky, but they also had Mark Messier and Glenn Anderson and Paul Coffey and Yari Curry. So, I mean, I killed a lot of penalties, and so when the Oilers power play came out, they'd send us out there, and I just kind of look around and say, like, oh my God, what do we do now?
Do you actually have that moment when you're on the ice, like, holy shit? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, because you 2 years before that you were watching them as a fan and as a teenager, and then you get there and you're playing against them and you're in awe. But there was one great story in Quebec one night. We were Paul Gillis, myself, and Mike Eagles were tasked with shadowing Gretzky's line, and we did a good job. We ended up scoring a goal, and their line didn't score, so we were +1 on the night against that line, and that's probably I think we lost the game, but we were extremely happy with our performance.
On that note, looking back on your career, and then I want to talk to you about where you're at now, but like, what would you say? And I did not send you these questions in advance. What are your top 3 sort of career highlights playing in the NHL?
I think probably, obviously, your first NHL game is a big highlight. I had the good fortune, my very first shift, of lining up for the opening face-off, and I've told this story before, against my childhood idol from Dresden, Ken Houston. So I was a left winger, he was a right winger. I had watched him when I was a kid. He had taught me at hockey school, and what are the chances that he is the guy on the ice at the same time as I had my first NHL game? So that's a highlight for sure. Scoring a playoff goal with the Rangers at MSG, I still remember that feeling. That was cool. And the night I got a hat trick in St. Louis, I never really thought I'd get a hat trick. It was a fortuitous night. I was outscored that night by Brett Hall, who had 4 goals that night, and
what a jerk!
He had 78 on the year, and I think I had 3. So it was understandable that he outscored me.
So you get drafted by the Leafs. You play for the Leafs. You play in Toronto with some other teams, and then you become the assistant GM of the Leafs. Like, when's your book coming out? It's amazing.
No book. I mean, when I quit, I went to law school, and then I practiced law in Toronto for a number of years. That's when you and I met through our mutual friend Jay Shore, and did some arbitration work for some NHL teams, including the Leafs. And then through that process, John Ferguson wanted to hire me as the AGM in Toronto, and that's how that happened. I was at Heenan Blakey, my old law firm, for over 8 years and really liked it. But the opportunity to work for a team that I had played for in my hometown, adopted hometown, and with family around, everything was pretty cool.
Pretty special place to be part of that history. And then now you are a hockey agent. Like, it's kind of like, I've been working on my book, and it's like, one of the things I've noticed in hearing your story is how, like, you connect the dots, and when you look at it, it's like, sometimes you're not as surprised at where you are now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, when I left the Leaf job, I looked at other opportunities in hockey, and that would mean moving and uprooting family, because I had the good fortune of being in Toronto with the Leafs. My wife Lara has her own successful law practice. The kids were young, and so it really wasn't an option to move. And the agent thing, it just it was not something that I contemplated, but it ended up being something that was pretty natural because I had all of the breadth of experience that I had. So I fell into it a little bit. Sam Gagner became a client.
Was he your first client?
He was my first NHL client. I had Ben Harper, who's had an NHL career, and Justin Scott, who's playing in the American League with Columbus, and those were my two first official clients. And then Sam was my first NHL, and then it kind of grew from there. And I joined our hockey group, and at that point, started to work with players like Aaron Ekblad and Connor McDavid.
This guy?
Yep, that guy, your buddy.
What are your 3 highlights being a hockey agent? And has anyone ever asked you that?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about it that way. I don't know if anything really stands out. Like we've done some fairly significant contracts for players that are, you celebrate a little bit, but I don't even really look at it that way. I think when we help players, get drafted and reach their goal of signing a contract, and you see the joy and on the families' faces, or when they sign their first NHL contract, that's always a special moment. I think like anytime a kid who's a Canadian or American or European who dreamed of playing in the NHL and they sign that first NHL standard player contract, I think it's such a great moment for the family that I really enjoy that, because I remember my own first signing and how important that was.
What would be your advice for someone young who's watching this, listening to this, whether it's today or later on Instagram?
Well, I kind of get requests every day from kids, emails, letters, asking what they can do. I think it's just a matter of educating yourself, learning as much about sport in general, not just hockey, if that's where your interest lies, but all sports. Learning how media and everything intersect with sports, going to conferences, meeting people, like all those things are things that contribute. And it's a very difficult industry to break into, but there are opportunities for people that want to work hard, and there's so much information available online and elsewhere that there's really no excuse. If you want to be in it, you should learn everything you can about everything you can, and that'll help you.
Well, and for you being a lawyer, I mean, obviously, like doing contracts and all that sort of stuff now has become a lot easier for you because you know what to look at, right? It's like big thing is like build that foundation to, right? Connecting the dots too. People want it right away, right?
Yeah, everybody wants everything right away, and you do have to build a foundation. And you have to do the grunt work, and you have to, you have to put in the time. You don't just become, an agent or GM overnight. You got to kind of make your way through the ranks, and that's the way it really should be.
You got to show
and
up
you learn as you go. Yeah, you got to put the time in. You got to really put the time in.
Look forward to seeing you in another rink, Jeff.
You too, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining. We'll say hi to everyone, and appreciate your inspiration and great stories.
Yeah, have a great day, bud.
Okay, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Bye.
see ya.